Now it is my pleasure to welcome Daniel Sanders, Chief Scientific Officer, and Erin Cochrane, Director of Product and co-founder of Gwella Mushrooms, a Canadian-based functional and soon-to-be psychedelic mushroom company. Erin and Dan are joining us today to share the company's vision and their work from a scientific perspective, and we are so glad to have them here. Hey, guys.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks so much. All right. Yeah, really excited to be here today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We're going to talk to you today about Gwella and what our mission in the psychedelic and functional mushroom space is. So here at Gwella, we are designing mushrooms for modern life. We absolutely recognize that the world of mushrooms has an ancient history, and Gwella's role and our aim is to be part of the new uprising of bringing mushrooms and all of their benefits to mainstream consumers, to modern life, and amplifying all of the positive benefits that we can, supporting this movement. So who is Gwella? Gwella is a very multidisciplinary business model. We operate at these intersections of three really important big trends right now: personal wellness, mushrooms, if you haven't heard of them, they're kind of everywhere right now, and psychedelics, obviously huge movement here on the plant medicine front. Very exciting time in this renaissance that we're seeing taking place right now. And Gwella is really wanting to take part in being accessible and creating this hybrid model of bringing in wellness and all these positive benefits of functional medicine and just a holistic approach to psychedelics and what it means to build in this space. So creating open access and building these different products and ancillary tools that can help improve people's day-to-day lives and bringing these spheres together to really do that and to accomplish that goal. So our thing is the +6, as we call it. That's one of our taglines. So we're focused on really playing to our strengths as a business. We're not a medical team. We are a branding team, a creative team, a scientific team that really wants to embody this idea of the betterment of the well. And what that means for us is we're not necessarily here to cure in like more challenging medical conditions. There's so many folks in this industry and in this space doing amazing work in that field right now. But for us, we want to take support the millions of people that are generally well and help elevate and enhance that day-to-day life through functional medicines and psychedelic medicines. So for us, that is where we see our gap to fill in this world right now. And that +6, that betterment of the well, is where we're able to recognize that there is a very hyper-medicalized model and application foundation that is occurring right now, which is phenomenal. Definitely that first in, as we saw in the cannabis industry, in the validation of these medicines through medical models. So obviously, as we all know, that work is incredibly important, but the gap for us is within that space that is outside of the medical framework, leveraging the amazing information, the important research coming out of that space, but in that gap between consumers and the rest of the millions of the people on the planet and who are just curious about psychedelics and want and need support as we take these really important steps together. So that is where we aim to operate and to support this movement.
And to go a bit deeper into what Erin is talking about, we do, very much tip our hats to the great clinicians, investors, people volunteering for these clinical trials in the psychedelics industry. And we absolutely see the use case for them studying new molecules, understanding harm potential, kinetics, and creating protocols to heal, treat, and cure individuals using psychedelics. One of the things, as we see more and more PR, both positive and negative, come out around these healing compounds, there's going to be more people wanting to go out and try them. outside of the medical access field. And so kind of what we have here is a diagram to represent the general healthy, the people that don't have serious medical conditions, serious depressions, things of that nature, right there in the middle. That is our target use case, primarily because if we can elevate the lives of those individuals, then we can collectively bring up the happiness and understanding of the collective human whole. If you can imagine some of the brightest minds getting into a room and taking psychedelics to think into some of the hardest problems in our world, you can just imagine the great amount of good that could come out of that sort of thing. So one of the things that we do hit home is a +6 hemisphere. One of the things that we say is we're trying to elevate people from a 0 to a +6, but that doesn't just happen just by taking psychedelics once. It is really a collective pool of different hemispheres coming together. And we're trying to occupy most of those hemispheres, being one, community, obviously support for pre and post experience. Obviously, we're going to operate in the CPG and psychedelics products hemisphere, and absolutely support for negative outcomes, because it's something that's not talked about enough in our industry, is that there are sometimes negative outcomes, but how do we mitigate those and learn from those to really deeper our understanding of psychedelics. And so as we've kind of talked about CPG products and psychedelic products, our first entry product into the marketplace is Mojo. It is the first legal microdose gummy. And so what we say with microdose gummy, it is geared to feel almost identical to a microdose of psilocybin mushrooms. And so we do that by closely mirroring the early stages of the pharmacokinetics of psychedelics. That can be psilocybin, LSD, psilocin. The very early stages give you feelings of heightened sensation, visual acuity, just general enjoyment out of anything that you're doing in your daily life, most anything you're doing in your daily life. And so that's what we wanted to mirror. We went ahead and did that by essentially compounding 13 to 14 active ingredients, all of it are triggered within a 2-hour span to mimic that kinetics curve. So during the first half of the experience, you're essentially getting a little bit of stimulation. You're starting to get a heightened sense of mood, a heightened sense of focus. And then towards the tail ends of it, you're getting a just overall sense of bliss, enjoyment, and warmth from the overall experience. Very similar to a microdose.
This is just another visual representation of what Daniel was just speaking to. So the ingredients that have been put into and compounded into Mojo are delivered in this really precise mechanism. So everything from your 30-minute intervals to hour to hour, you have this very gradual, balanced kind of feeling of what we say like a heightened state. So as Daniel noted, that idea of mimicking or mirroring or being able to embody the experience that is the early stages of a microdose, how that occurs over, a 6 to 8.5 hour time span, which is the idea with Mojo. And the thin layer technology that we use in the Mojo gummies helps just release all of these different compounds and actives and supporting functional ingredients in a very precise mechanism. So just another visual representation to demonstrate this. One of the exciting things that we have done with Mojo is really to learn as we go and to listen to our community, listen to our testers, understand that we understand or have done our due diligence in understanding the ingredients, the compounds. Daniel has done a phenomenal job with the formulation and the development of this product. But we leverage studies from various nootropics, what the different functional mushrooms that we were putting in, such as lion's mane and different kinds of cordyceps, how those do act or have shown in studies to act in our bodies. So that's where the development process came in and what we hypothesized and tested and experienced ourselves to be the effects. Now you have to take it out into the real world. and see what people across such a variety of experience, how they're going to receive and respond to this kind of product. So one, we learned very quickly that our first formulation was a little bit intense on the flavor side. So we did a quick readjustment and changed the flavor around a little bit. And that was really, that was responded to very well. And then we also really dug into these different parameters and these indications that we thought were going to be, from our knowledge and from the formulation that we did, going to what kind of positive benefits are Mojo going to have in people. And we took these different indications and we did a pretty thorough feedback study. And we got to see how much people were saying that by taking Mojo, even just once, it was, this was based on a 1 to 3 time sample package, how much people felt an improvement in mental clarity, in focus and concentration, improvements in mood. There's mood boosters in Mojo, which have been really, really interesting to get the feedback on how that makes people feel just more fulfillment in their day, and creative thinking, improving cognitive speed. So we were really, really excited to understand and see that a lot of the effects and things that we developed Mojo for were actually being mirrored back, were being experienced by our customers, by our community members. And one of the things we really look forward to is doing some more clinical studies with various clinical partners, just to help validate this, third-party validation, as well as understanding Mojo's therapeutic use in and alongside psychedelics medicines, which is one of our intentions in the near future. So we're really excited about the studies to come about these little power-packed gummies. So as we move forward, as we look to what's next, just want to take a second to recognize, we definitely honor and we celebrate the efforts of so many pioneers that have come before us, that have carried the torch. And, this movement is at such a critical point, such a critical turning point. And we really do stand on the shoulders of giants across Indigenous communities, cross-cultural, across the world, who have, been the teachers and been the stewards of plant medicines to heal themselves, their communities on this planet. So just an acknowledgement from the Gwella team that we definitely recognize that we're in an incredibly important time with some really powerful work that's happened before us. So we look and we hope to aim and honor that as a company moving forwards.
All right, so we can cut to questions real quick.
Thanks, Daniel. Great presentation, you guys. Lots to unpack there, but first, I'm interested in this idea of microdosing, and wondering how the team arrived at the strategic place where Gwella has decided to introduce microdosing to consumers through functional products. It's such like a unique approach, and I'm curious what it took to get you guys here.
Yeah, so primarily one of the reasons we wanted to pursue microdose is because first, obviously, there was a huge use for it in the industry, but also we saw as an early introduction for some products for brand recognition to start building the Gwella name. One of the big things that we want to do is always back our products on trust and security. We want people to know that they're consistently getting the same product every time they're getting it, and it's safe for them to consume. So that's one of the reasons we started with this particular Mojo product, because in the end, we plan to integrate psychedelics into the product, into their legal jurisdictions. And so if we can start very early speaking with our clients, our consumers, and understanding their needs, then this product not only is something that someone goes and buys once, but something that someone goes, buys, integrates into their life, and we have a long-standing relationship with that end consumer.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like you guys are doing, a lot of seeding right now. And, even looking at the way that Gwella has begun to introduce its brands into the world, well before legal access to psilocybin, it seems like the company is, partially betting on the power of brand awareness. Can you share some of your insights into that strategy with us?
Yeah, certainly. So what we kind of took a step back at the beginning was to say, this is such an exciting space. It's such an exciting time to be able to be involved in this kind of movement. But what is something that's going to be that long-term community building? How do you establish yourself in such a nuanced industry as a company that people can look to and to trust? And that was really such a big part of the brand recognition that we wanted to do when we talk about access. How are we actually achieving that? So, looking, and Daniel spoke to this, looking at the regulatory hurdles that might be years to come. How do we create products that are going to help people achieve hopefully similar results of this holistic wellness, and build foundations that people can feel like they have a trusted source to rely on, to understand how to combat some of these stigmas or misconceptions of these medicines. So for us, like, all of this really early stage brand recognition is about exactly what Daniel said. Let's build relationships with community members, and that's on a consumer level, that's on an industry level, and at an advocacy level. So just trying to bridge all of those different worlds and understand how we can have a really good foundational support with which to be a leading voice that people trust.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a big believer in the power of branding, and I think that the approach that Gwella is taking this early in the game is very, very smart. And so now I'm wondering, since your brands are now getting some really healthy levels of oxygen, can you share some of the plans on future products with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So now that we've got Mojo in on the market, we're about to go into a couple other hemispheres. One being, we will have a psychedelic product by the end of the year in a legal jurisdiction. We are currently trying to decide which country to go into and release this product with the proper legislation to allow us to do that. Not only will that allow us to branch into the psychedelics industry a bit earlier than any bills getting passed or any rules or laws essentially getting passed, but we are also taking a right turn into ancillary products. One of the analogies I like to use is you don't go camping without a tent. You don't go camping without a lantern. You don't go into any trip without being extremely prepared. At least I don't. I'm sure there are people that do that. And so that's where we're branching off into right now, is how can we also support these pre and post trips to allow people to have an optimal experience, all while helping them also integrate the experience to really get the maximum amount of positive outcomes that they can have.
No, that's great. It makes a lot of sense. And so we're coming close to the end of our session, but I'm wondering if if you could share a few points with our investors who may be looking to devote capital into the psychedelic space. Why should they choose Gwella?
I will say heart and diversity. And yeah, our core team really cares about this industry and moving it forwards and establishing ourselves as a really reputable industry leader who has foundational roots in functional medicine, but also a really strategic plan for how we holistically support psychedelic use across multiple consumer bases. So that's my answer.
Great.
I'm going to agree with that. Heart is kind of the biggest thing. We saw in the cannabis industry, so many companies come online just to generate money and then they exited. I know, speaking from my own personal experience, I owe deeply to the mushroom, and most of us in this company do. And so we will be here to the years to come, regardless of how long it takes. So
great, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thanks so much.